When Teachers Lie by Gary Ives, read by Gary Ives. Carl opened his notebook and began doodling. He drew a frowning stick woman with a big head and bangs, like Mrs. Binker, who was at her desk in front of the class reading aloud to the class from the textbook about the Roman Republic. Blah, blah, blah. Julius Caesar, blah, blah, blah. Jesus, what a monotone. 10 more minutes before the last bell. Andy had promised him a ride to Miss Reba's, where he would pick up his little sister, then walk with her the 6 blocks to their house. He was thinking that 6 blocks was a long trek for a short-legged girl of 5 years old, when Mrs. Binker called on him with that sarcastic edge of hers. She'd been watching him. "So, Carl, you tell the class some of Caesar's legacies." "Legacies? What do you mean legacies?" "Things we remember for him. Why do we even care about Julius Caesar, "Well, there's the bloody assassination. 23 wounds makes him front-page tabloid material." The class chuckled. "Very funny, Carl. So, are none of Caesar's accomplishments memorable?" "Oh no, Ms. Binker. Caesar, he totally screwed the Republic. He screwed the Senate, and yeah, he screwed Cleopatra too." Now the class laughed, genuinely amused. "That's enough, Carl," she barked. The last bell of the day sounded, and the class rose and began shuffling out the door. "Carl, come here." "Miss Binker, please, I got to catch my ride." "Sit down, you." "While the class may appreciate your comedic antics, I do not. You will open your notebook and give me a 5-paragraph essay on Caesar's Rome. Then you may leave." "Listen, Miss Binker, it's Friday. I got to pick up my little sister from the lady who cares for her while my mom's at work. I miss my ride, then I got to walk. My ma's going to get charged another $5. "No, Carl, you listen to me. You will sit down and start writing now." "No, ma'am, this ain't going to happen. You'll have your essay Monday morning. You don't understand. I got to pick up my little sister." He turned, checked his posture, and without looking back, passed slowly through the door into the hall, hearing her shriek, "Come back here right now, young man. I said come here. Oh, you're going to be so sorry, Carl Wilson. You wait and see." Since his dad had gone, Carl's mother had worked mornings as a part-time teacher's assistant in the middle school, and afternoons and evenings as a data entry clerk at Century 21 Realty. Joanne Wilson, single mother, had earned her degree, passed the state examinations, and earned her teacher certification. The first vacant social studies position would be hers, Karis High School principal Dolly Spanner had said with congratulatory smile after her successful interview in June. However, in July came the phone call from Principal Spanner. She was terribly sorry, but the promised world history teaching position had gone to another applicant. Charlene Blinker's family had moved to Carras over the summer when her husband Sonny had been appointed manager of the Paladin Gyro Tech plant. Sure, Charlene had the class, the clothes, and the masters, but it was husband Sonny Binker's position that had assured her safe return to teaching, now that the 2 Binker girls had left the nest empty for college. Paladin Gyrotech was Paladin Defense Industries' manufacturer of guided missile components and the largest employer in the county. Affluent Charlene was delighted at her re-entry into teaching after a 17-year absence to raise her family. Now she would be the big fish in this small pond. Her social rank afforded her much deference from the other Karis High teachers. She and the queen bee of Karis High, Cheryl Capriati, whose husband was owner of Capriati Chevrolet, came together like Hitler and Mussolini. "Show these ladies your stuff, Charlene, and they'll be yours, dear." Following her new friend's advice, Charlene hosted a ladies' luncheon during the 1 week of teachers in service before the beginning of school. Poolside at their country club, 6-bedroom, 3-bath home, the catered luncheon with shrimp cocktails, platters of barbecued ribs and chicken, jug wine, and door prizes of under $10, cosmetics, guaranteed social dominance and sway over the ladies of Caras High. After the hoi polloi departed, Charlene and Cheryl celebrated the coup over a pitcher of ice-cold Tanqueray martinis. That barbecue sauce and red wine proved a little too challenging for some of those ladies. Who was the large one in the yellow blouse? The two ladies chuckled as they reviewed the success of Charlene's luncheon. I have one of the gals set up orange juice and egg McMuffins on the Friday morning before grades are due. I mean, it's hilarious. $40 worth of fast food garbage every 6 weeks, and these little piggies kiss ass the whole year long. You're going to love it, Charlene. Just remember, Dolly's birthday is the same as MLK Day, and she loves Dillard's or Olive Garden gift cards. No problems from the office, top evaluations guaranteed, and all those troublesome lunch duties and bus duties are saved for the little proles, dear. Sonny's already lined up a Paladin donation for the PTA and quarterback club. Let me freshen that drink, hon. Joanne Wilson was dog-tired when she set the pizza box on the table and plopped into the couch. Carl, be a sweetie and bring in the groceries. Your old ma is pooped. Later, after Jenny had been put to bed, Carl explained to his mom word for word the run-in with Mrs. Binker. She's got a cob stuck up her ass, Ma. She thinks she's better than everybody else. Nobody likes her. She can't teach. All she does is read from the book and pass out worksheets. I used to love history. What's your language, son? You put your sister first. I think you did the right thing. Did you use any bad language? Call her a bad name, anything? Nope. Just don't worry then. I'll make some popcorn. Jimmy's on his way over with the movie. Before school started Monday morning, Carl placed the essay in Mrs. Binker's mail cubby in the teacher's workroom. He was nervous throughout the day, anticipating the last period, Mrs. Binker's world history class. She barely looked at him, and he was just beginning to feel safe when a runner from the dean's office came for him. Coach Jimmy Chitwell, the dean of boys, informed him of his 5 days after-school detention for disobedience, defiance, and disrespect toward Mrs. Binker. This was especially embarrassing and awkward, as the coach and his mother had been dating for the past 6 months. Coach, I did not disrespect that lady. Can't I serve the detention before school? You know I have to pick up Jenny after school. Ma has to pay an extra $5 for every half hour past 3:30. We're talking $30, maybe more, and Mom don't have that kind of money. I'll talk to her, Carl, but you'll have to do today's detention. So go on in there and open your books. I'll go see her now. Coach Churtwell returned 20 minutes later and called Carl to his desk. Sit down. She was in the principal's office, saying you got in her face and called her some pretty ugly names and threatened her. So she's not going to give on this. She's asking Mrs. Spanner to suspend you and call for an expulsion hearing. That's not going to happen. Just serve the detention and forget this, and don't antagonize her. She's a liar, Mr. Churtwell. She's lying. All I did was walk out. I never cussed or threatened her. No way. Let it go, son. You don't want this to escalate. Carl served the 5 days. On Friday, the coach talked with him. Carl, you're a good boy. I'm sorry this happened, but please promise me you'll let this go. Miss Binker's the unforgiving kind. It's going to be up to you to let this cool down. You understand? I know, Coach, but she's a liar, and she's mean. Coach Churtwell's face showed complete accord. But promise me, Carl, you won't aggravate the woman, he said as he patted Carl's shoulder. For the rest of the school year, Carl managed to stay safely below Miss Binker's radar. She had disciplinary actions weekly, always with troublesome boys. Coach Churtwell had complained that she had written more referrals than any other teacher in his memory and asked that Mrs. Spanner have a talk with her. Things began to sour for Mrs. Binker that summer. Strange immigration packets began arriving for Mr. and Mrs. Binker from the embassies of foreign countries, Albania, Yemen, Angola, and the most disturbing from Havana, Cuba. Mrs. Binker spent hours on the phone with the relevant embassies, explaining that they had no desire to emigrate. She would handle this. Sonny had a bad temper, and he certainly didn't need to be bothered. She had applied for their passports, then contacted several cruise companies after Sonny had promised a grand 25th anniversary getaway, and she reasoned one of the cruise companies had sold their address. Sonny had told her to handle the details. Everything concerning the passport business and dealing with the stupid foreigners on the phone had been so trying. She knew neither she nor Sonny had any interest in even touring, much less emigrating to Albania or Yemen, and certainly not Cuba. However, in July, when Sonny was refused a boarding pass for his flight to corporate headquarters in St. Paul, he learned that he, his wife, and daughters were now on Homeland Security's no-fly list. Sonny was interviewed in a tiny hot room at the airport. He returned home furious, certain that Charlene's fumbling around the damn cruise companies had somehow committed them to Homeland Security hell. After talking with his congressman's office, Sonny's lawyer tried to assuage him, but told him that getting off the no-fly list would be no easy task, then happily logged in 10 hours billing with the promise of many more to come. Then, just before the beginning of school, the Binkers' home appeared for sale online under multiple listings, eBay and Craigslist, at a ridiculously low price, as moving abroad must sell quickly, no reasonable offer refused, as the ads proclaimed. The disconnected phone stopped neither the barrage of emails with offers nor the incessant drive-bys. In August, midway through Principal Spanner's welcome back speech to the teachers, 2 federal agents arrived at the Caras High cafeteria to interview Mrs. Binker concerning her letters on school stationery written to foreign embassies. They noted the recent requests for passports, and they were curious why the Binkers were in such a rush to sell their house at a loss. "Please tell us why you and your husband are planning to leave the country," they asked. That same week, Paladin Defense Industries Incorporated informed Sonny Binker that with the pulling of his security clearance by Homeland Security, he was being transferred immediately to company headquarters in St. Paul for reassignment to the Human Resources Unit. The first day of school, Carl, now a senior, told his new girlfriend, Frida, "You're going to love the new history teacher. She's my mom." That afternoon, Coach Churtwell slipped into the school secretary's office and replaced the unused school stationery and envelope stash he'd borrowed earlier.